If you're anything like me, you love planning. There's almost nothing better than getting a paper and a pen and creating this picture perfect aesthetic plan that has absolutely everything you need to completely transform your life. But one thing that you realize is even though the plan it looks perfect on paper, actually doing the things and actually changing your life and actually sticking to those goals is another thing entirely. As days and weeks roll by, you start to realize that your current life responsibilities and your current life habits are getting in the way of the things that you want your future self to have achieved, your goals and your aspirations. So you make another plan and another plan and another plan until you wonder, am I the problem? But what if I told you it's not entirely your fault? And it's not entirely the plan's fault either, but rather a mix of the two and an extra thing that sometimes we fail to consider our current systems. Hi, my name is Lao-Ann, and I believe productivity and planning are extremely personal. I don't think that there's someone else on the internet that can tell you exactly how to live your life and on exactly the things you should be focused on. The only person that knows how you should live your life, what your life is like, and the best way to improve it is you and the Lord. So, when you are planning, it's important to take a look at your actual life rather than relying on someone else's systems that work for them. So, everything I say, I encourage everyone to look at their own life and see if it works with them rather than making the plan the focal point of their life. You're going to make your productivity and your planning fit into your life and not the other way around. So, what are systems? Systems are these repeatable actions and habits and processes that automates choices. So they completely remove things like willpower and motivation, which if you have been trying to change your life and if you've been trying to achieve goals at any point in time, you know that usually we try to rely on willpower and motivation to pull the way. But that's not really what it's supposed to do. Willpower and motivation are best utilized in the planning phase, not in the actualization stage. But we'll get more on that later. Now, I know it can be easy to think, oh, but I don't have any systems. I just live my life as things come up. My life is super busy, so I really don't have any systems or plans in place. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not exactly true. No matter how busy your life is, no matter how complicated it gets, you have systems. They are just doing what they're supposed to do, which is be so ingrained in your life that you don't really notice them. Think about it. You wake up in the morning, you put off your alarm, maybe you check the time and a few notifications while you're at it. You get up, you brush your teeth, you eat your breakfast, you get ready for work, and you go to work. You work, you come back from work, or if you're working at home, you work until closing time, then you move to a different section of your house. You have some after work cool time. You watch something on TV or on your phone, you read something, you have dinner, you get ready for bed, and you sometimes maybe scroll for hours and hours instead of actually sleeping until it's 4 a.m. and you have to get ready for work. Regardless, you have systems in place. You just don't notice them because that's your life. And technically, that's what a system is. It is so much part of your life that you don't even separate it. So, when we're trying to add in this new goal, like work out every day, you're adding it to a system that already exists, but you're doing it as if you are adding it to a completely blank slate. And that is why it is not working. So before you add something completely new and fight against the current, try your best to see what already exists so you can add it a little more smoothly. Think of it like instead of forcefully divert a river with like brute force and trying to dig a new channel, you then focus on putting barriers and rocks to change the flow pattern. Or instead of trying to climb up a really steep hill with speed alone, you adding these little divots, or I don't know anything about climbing, but you're adding these little divots that give you places to hold your hands and your feet as you climb upwards. That's what making a new system is all about. We are integrating it into your life to make it easier for you to achieve your goal rather than just brute force, willpowering it through. We have the basic idea. Now, how do we do it? Well, the first thing we need to do is observe. You're going to have to take a deep, deep look at your current life and see what systems are already there. Now, it is a bit time consuming, I will admit, and you do have to do some deep thinking, but it's definitely something that's gonna be worth it at the end of the day. I'm not saying you have to do it every single second of every single day, but we're gonna just think of what we do know. So if you're with a paper and pen right now, or if you can pause and get one, you're going to think, okay, when I wake up in the morning, what is the first thing I do? And you've got to be honest with yourself. The worst thing you could do is lie to yourself about your situation, because that's probably not going to get you any real lasting solutions. So get a paper and a pen, or use your phone as you're watching this, and okay, open up a notes app as you're listening to this, and then write down what you do as you wake up. What are those things that you do? And this can be general. Just think generally. What do you do when you wake up? Do you turn off your alarm? Do you check your phone? Do you immediately get up, go straight into brushing your teeth? Do you do you do a workout the first thing as you wake up? What is it that you do? And the important part of this is you're not going to shame yourself, because the entire reason you're doing this is to make your life better, which is a lot better than what most people are doing. So even if your life isn't great, the first step that you've made to try and make it better is amazing. And that already puts you a little bit ahead of everyone else. I also want you to make note of what you do when you're bored, or when you have free time. When imagine you're on a commute to work, or you have some moments waiting in line. What do you do in that time? Because even though it only seems like a few seconds, seconds add up to minutes, minutes to hours, and before you know it, you have 14 hours of a day when you could be doing something else. That's one of the reasons screen time gets so high. We tell ourselves it's only a few seconds, but before you know it, that can easily add up to an hour. So, what do you do in your free time? What times are you most likely to have free time? So, once you've gotten all that, you can keep it aside, and we'll move on to the next step, which is transformation. Now, the thing with transformation is we're going to take the goals that we've set already and then make them into repeatable habits that can be integrated into our lives. So, you're gonna look at your goals, and if you don't have goals yet, or you can't think of any, or you're just not sure if the ones you have will actually work, or if they actually mean something to you, you can check out my previous YouTube video that I will link down in the description on how to set goals that will actually matter to you. So get your goals, look through them, and then we're going to break them down into repeatable actions and habits. Now, this doesn't have to be daily repeatable actions and habits, although it's best if it is. But you can even have ones that are once a week, or, you know, maybe not once a month, because that's a bit far, but like maybe once a week actions. And if you can only think of something that can be done once a month, then you're also going to have to break it down a little more into extra steps and decide if that's really a habit goal or a project goal. Again, I explained a lot about this in one of my other videos, which I'm going to link down, and you can just check it out and see. So maybe you have something like this. Maybe one of your big goals is that you want to read you want to read more. Maybe you want to read 54 books by the end of the year. It is possible, trust me. So maybe you want to read 54 books by the end of the year. Okay, that's great. How do you do that? You're not just gonna sit down one day and read all 54 books. I don't really think that's possible. What you're going to do instead is make it a repeatable action that you can do pretty much every day. So that would be something like, I'm going to read X number of pages every day. I'm going to read for X amount of time every day. This is something that you can do, so you can do daily, that eventually just becomes a natural part of your life. So maybe you have a goal that says you're going to learn 50 new recipes. Let's stop saying 50. Let's say you have a goal that you're going to learn 30 new recipes by the end of the year. Okay, how do you do that? Well, maybe it's I'm going to research a new recipe every day and try to cook some every week. Or maybe it's every couple of days I will cook a new recipe until I perfect it and then I move on to the next. So you're going to make these repeatable actions that you can do over and over and over again. It's also very, very helpful if these habits and actions can be tracked, and you can tick them off when you accomplish them. This really helps you think of it not as the end goal, but rather as a part of your life, a journey, basically. So you're not just thinking about the 50 books that you want to read or the 52 books that you want to read, or you're thinking of the reading a book every day. Our next step is identification and integration. In the first step, we already were able to pick out, the times that we are free, the things that we do, habits that we have, and our systems that already exist. Now, what we're going to do is pick out those particular spots where we want to change and then insert these new habits that we've made. So when you're doing this, you need to keep track of a couple of things: what you're doing previously, and whether you like it or not, and if you want to change it, the amount of time that thing takes, and then this new goal you want to add and how much time that takes. Because if you had maybe when you wake up, you have a 5 minute slot where you're scrolling on your phone, but you want to, let's say, read more, and your reading goal is 200 pages. You're not going to be able to read 200 pages in 5 minutes. So you're going to adjust that marginally and make it something that would work within that time. Same thing, like, okay, let's say I want to read all of the New Testament before the year is over. And my habit would be reading a chapter of the Bible every day. Now, I can't read a full chapter of the Bible in 5 minutes if I want to really read and understand. So, what do I do instead? Well, instead of saying, okay, I'll read the chapter of the Bible in the morning, what I'm going to do instead is read a devotional plan. That won't take me that long. It will only take probably up to those 5 minutes. Maybe I can find somewhere else where I have more time to insert that one chapter Bible reading. So again, all of what this is really looking at your schedule, your day-to-day life, your repeatable habits, and figuring out the best places to put those in. You're not just throwing them randomly and hoping that they will stick. You're doing the absolute best you can to optimize it in a way that you can feasibly do it. Now, we're not done. The next and final step is step 4, which is actualization and implementation. Now, if you've done planning and you've tried to, improve your life and go after your goals, you know that planning is not the last thing. It's in fact the easiest thing. What's really hard is actually doing and going after your goals and achieving them. So, now that we've done all the planning bits, we need to make sure that the actually doing the goals thing is done to the best of our ability. It's easy to plan for your best days. When you feel 100% on top of the world, your motivation is at its peak and nothing can go wrong. But that's not how life is most of the time. So we have to plan for the days that we don't feel all that motivated, for the days that we aren't feeling all that great about it. The days where maybe we're not feeling our best health or mental health wise, or we're just kind of feeling lazy. It happens. So we're going to plan for that as well as the best days. So, how do you do that? Well, you're going to make 3 different versions of your goals now, or rather of your habits. So let's go back to the reading. So making my habit out of that, making my habit out of reading the books would be I'm going to read for 2 hours every day. That seems like a lot. Great. That's what I would do with my higher self when I'm feeling the most motivated, when I'm feeling on top of the world. I would read for 2 hours, and I can share that as I wish within the day. Now, I am not feeling all that great. I'm feeling unmotivated. I don't even want to pick up a book. I don't want to read anything, but I still want to go after my goals. Well, instead of reading for 2 hours and, you know, getting overwhelmed and deciding that, oh, no, I'm not going to read, and also pushing yourself to do something that you enjoy and know is good for you, could end up being counterproductive. So instead of focusing on those 2 hours, okay, I'm going to go with my minimum goal, which is I'm going to read for 5 minutes. I know it's ludicrously small. It's super small. In fact, it's so small that I could do it pretty easily. I could just set a timer and read for only 5 minutes. But what usually happens when you do something like that is, one, it feels super accessible, that no matter how bad you're feeling, no matter how unmotivated you are, even if it is 11 p.m. and you haven't read a single thing, you know that you can take your book up, set your timer, and read for 5 minutes. And you've got your goal for the day. That's it. Now, the best thing about this is, as my favorite YouTuber Ruby Granger says, success leads to motivation, leads to success, leads to more motivation. So when you just say, I'm going to read for only 5 minutes, and you read for those 5 minutes, you're like, wow, okay, I can read for 5 minutes. That's great. And maybe you find yourself getting a little sucked into the story and you want to read for more. So you end up reading for more than that bare minimum goal, but you've still done it. And the best thing about this is, even if you don't want to read anymore, like, okay, I've read for the 5 minutes, I'm pretty tired, I don't want to do anything else, you can just drop it and you're still golden. You've still done your goal, you've still achieved your goal for the day. Same thing goes with anything else. Maybe are supposed to have a 10-minute walk, but you're really tired. You can't do a 10-minute walk. So, okay, instead of going a 10-minute walk, I am just going to walk back and forth from my hallway 5 times. That's it, 5 times. And if I don't feel like walking anymore, I can stop. That's it. You want to write, okay, but I don't feel like writing. 5 minutes writing, and you're done. You've gotten this, and if you feel like, you can go forward. If you don't, you can just stay where you are. Also within that, you can also have a medium goal, your everyday goal, when you aren't feeling really, really motivated, but you aren't, at your lowest. You can have a median goal. So instead of the 2 hours of reading or the 5 minutes of reading, I can say I'm going to read for 1 hour or 30 minutes. And that is something that I can aim to when I'm not feeling as low as my 5 minute goal, but I'm not feeling 100% on top of the world, ready to read every single book that I own. The writing, 1 hour. The 10-minute walk, 5 minutes. Doing this helps reduce the amount of friction that we have towards achieving our goals. Sometimes we get so in our heads of, oh, I need to do this exact way, or I've not done it at all. I need to journal 2 pages every day, summarize my entire day, or I have not journaled. That's not entirely true. If you want to journal for, to recount your day, you can just put things in bullet points. You can summarize into your top 3 things. If you want to journal for creativity, you can just draw a flower. That's it. You do not have to do 100% all the time, because 100% all the time isn't realistic and it isn't sustainable. Sometimes you're going to be at 10%, but you need to make sure that when you're at that 10%, you're still putting in a bit of effort. Now, I'm going to say that yes, rest is important. I love resting. I do not believe that we are meant to be productive every single day. However, I am aware that even sometimes instead of being productive, I tell myself I'm resting when really I'm just being counterproductive. I'm just being counterproductive. I say I don't have time for this thing, but I end up spending even more than the amount of time I would have used on something else that I know isn't good for me. So, if you say you're going to eat healthy every day and you're not feeling all that great, then okay, I am going to just, instead of saying, oh no, I don't feel like it today, I'm not going to eat healthy at all, I'm going to take all the junk food. No, you can find a bit of a compromise. Maybe say you're going to eat one apple, or you're gonna do an extra bit of walking, or you're going to not sit on the couch all day, whatever it is. you know Find that balance, because life is all about balance. You don't want to go too far one way where you're working all the time and you are overworking yourself and you're burning out, but you also don't want to you know go entirely in the other direction where you're not doing anything because you think that you are giving yourself a free pass to do nothing. So find that balance. Also, when you're trying to achieve your goals, you also need to make sure that you're making your goal something you actually want to do. When you're doing these habits, you want to make sure that they are simple. As we've said, we've worked out a way to make it so that no matter how we're feeling, we can work on that. But you also want to make it a bit fun. We love fun. Naturally, people love doing nice things. They like doing fun things. So instead of making it look like, oh, I have to do this goal, if I don't do this goal then my life's gonna be ruined, oh, I have to do it. Nah, you're going to make it fun. Maybe track your goals so that each time you do it you can tick it off. That will give you a little bit of extra motivation to do some more things, and it'll also make you feel like you're actually accomplishing things. The reason we sort of don't achieve our goals, one of the reasons why we don't achieve our goals, is because we keep looking at them as these, you know, duties and these obligations that we just have to work through and suffer through. But really, you can look at it as, I'm making things better for myself. I am improving my health. I am improving my mind. I am doing things that I actually enjoy that I don't make time for. Whatever it is, just try your best to make it something that you want to do. Maybe at the end of the day, you can make a video of yourself, for just yourself. You don't have to post it, but you can say, I did this, and that is something that would make you really proud and make you want to stick to your goals. Maybe at the end of each week, if you stick to all your goals, you can give yourself a little reward. It doesn't have to be big. It could be like treating yourself to an extra 5 minutes of doing something that you really like. It could be doing your nails. It could be buying yourself a bit of sweet candy or something. Whatever it is, we want to encourage us to work on our goals. As they say, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. So make your goal something that you actually want to do. And that's it. That's all we have for today. And, at the end of the day, your goals and your habits are things that you're doing for yourself. It's not about being the best. It's not about, showing off for everyone. It's about improving your life and doing things that you actually want to do. So think of that when you are feeling at your worst. Think of it when you don't want to do anything, and think of who you want to be when you are feeling at your lowest.